Hi, guys. So today I want to talk to you about a topic I kind of touched on before. Discussed sort of the anti-hero characters, sort of the characters that are a bit of underdogs. Which I recently had a discussion with a friend of mine on Twitter, and I think that we sort of connect with those characters sometimes because we feel like the underdogs and because we don't feel like we quite fit in, or been a point in our lives we didn't, maybe we still don't. So in general, I think we kind of sometimes connect with that character rather than one that has everything going right and has a little bump in the road and you're like, oh well. So I think with these characters people kind of relate on a sort of a darker level, if that makes sense. So, and I've discussed this before, the whole anti-hero concept, how people kind of connect with that anti-hero, and why shows like Dexter have proven that. He's a killer. He kills in every episode. But then you look at the people he kills, and you're like, well, kind of get that. Not to say that it's right, so don't shit on me and say, oh, the murder's never right. I'm just saying, you kind of get where he's coming from. Also, you see his background, so you sort of understand what led up to the kind of person he is. If we lived his experience, would we see the world differently? How would we react to situations? You have to kind of be thinking of that, and that's what I think about when I'm doing my writing. I shouldn't really say I'm thinking about it. It's sort of in the back of my mind, but at the same time, I just instinctively sort of know, and then what I'll do is I'll write it, and then I'll go back and be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So I kind of do it backwards. But anyway, getting off topic, I always seem to. Today's topic specifically, why do my criminals always win? I was going to say, why do criminals always win, but in most books they don't, which is kind of why I do the opposite. As I've also discussed in videos before, my characters are sort of counterculture, and what that means is they kind of go against the norm. And, the norm, of course, you watch a show, watch a movie, read a book, there's a good guy and a bad guy, and there's not always, it's not as clear these days as it used to be, which is good, because we all kind of have good and bad to some degree. But most things you see, the good guy wins, the bad guy gets caught. And what are the reasons for that? I actually saw somebody talking about this not long ago. One of the reasons why it gives us, as an audience, it gives us comfort. Oh, they caught the bad guy. Oh, that makes me feel better. But realistically, here in the real world, does that always happen? There's been some news stories that I'm not even going to get into, especially crime related, where you kind of see where bad guy doesn't always get caught. And if he gets caught, doesn't always get the punishment. If he gets a punishment, it may not be as severe as that person probably should for the crime. We see it all the time. If you watch the news at all, I see it all the time, and it kind of pisses me off. So, sometimes money helps, in various things, which, by the way, my characters have money, so that kind of helps. Plus, they sort of organized a group of people behind the scenes to work for them. So they have people in media that kind of help prop them up and go up against the people they want to go against. They, or if they have a news story that's going to ruin somebody, for example, they have the connections in politics right to the top. George Hernandez got the prime minister in on the basis of, I know your dirty secrets, you know mine, let's work together. That probably happens, right? Yeah, that probably happens in various countries. Anyway, so yes, first of all, that's kind of comes back to what I was talking about, that, okay, so why the criminals always win. Also, again, this character has sort of everybody lined up to work for him. Does that really happen? Of course it really happens. And you might disagree and say, well, no, I never really saw it. Well, you probably wouldn't, because part of what makes these people successful in getting away with what they do is the fact that there's just so many cogs in the machine, and they know how to get them all working together. I mean, it's not something everyone can do. Money, again, that helps. There's various connections, power, blackmail. There's all sorts of things. I'm not saying it's common or uncommon, but I demonstrate this with my characters because I think it's, maybe I should be trying to give my readers comfort by like, oh yeah, they're going to get caught because they're bad. No, my characters continually don't get caught. They always get away with what they do. And that might bother some people, but I kind of like it because I think it's making a point. It's making a point that I think this happens. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm alone. I don't think I am. I think it demonstrates that there's definitely people out there who do, though. And to at least make you think about it. And not to say it's right or wrong, but think about it. Is that possible? And maybe you know somebody. Maybe it's affected your family. Maybe you've seen, I've heard so many stories. You hear about a crime situation and then you hear sort of the backstory. Well, this is what was kind of really going on. So, I don't know. It's just something to keep in mind. Back to my story, though. I mean, these characters, they get away with everything, but they're clever. They're not dumb. They're not walking in somewhere with their fingerprints everywhere, and they're not with camera. They know how to eliminate any problems that might come up. They have the hackers, hack into these cameras, hack into this information to find out what they need to know. They, one of my characters is a former assassin, and as that, she's been trained, highly trained. She talks in the book I'm working on now. She's been trained by Navy SEALs. She's been trained by some people who really know what they're doing. And she's been trained in other aspects of how to get away with a crime, how to commit a crime, the psychological side of people, habits, how to watch people, all the aspects. And, there's probably people like that out there. I was watching an interview recently, and I won't get into where and why and what, but, it was a former hitman talking, and he said, I always got away with my crimes. The only reason why I didn't, because somebody else got caught, and in order to sort of get immunity, I guess, he told on him. Had it not been for that, he knew what he was doing. He got away with it. He got around it. So don't you think that that's very possible? So I demonstrate that with my characters. I think I enjoy sort of challenging people and making them wonder if what they always believed or were brought up to believe is actually correct, because most of us are brought up to believe, oh, the cops are there to help you, and if the bad guy is going to get caught, and they're going to find the evidence, and they're going to do this really thorough investigation, and then they're going to go to the courts, and the courts are going to be fair. And then you look at the news, you're like, I don't know if that's true. Anyway, so I like to bring this out in my writing. I like to bring out a lot of points, even small ones, just for people to think about. Just a little something to think about, to consider. What do you think? I mean, do you think there's criminals that do get away? Do you think they eventually get caught? Yes or no? Could my characters eventually get caught? We'll see. Thank you, guys. Like, subscribe, share this video, sign up to my newsletter, go on my Twitter, Facebook, everything. Anyways, guys, have a great day. Bye.